Hello, and thank you for joining us again, listeners. It's wonderful that you're here. And again, I have a lovely guest with us joining us today is Sherry Leopold. She's the leader of the Stop Self-Bullying movement. And we're talking on the topic of how ridiculously common self-bullying is today and how socially acceptable it has become. So quite a heavy, whoa topic. And we've got lots of questions to ask Sherry. She's a lovely, lovely lady. Thank you and welcome, Sherry.
Oh, thank you so much, Sonia, for having me. I really appreciate it. And you're right, it is kind of a big topic and it does kind of cause you to go, wow, that's a big statement. But it is, and it's an important one that's really affecting really our entire world, but our culture and our young people. And it's really something that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. Well, let me just tell the listeners a little bit more about you. So I'm definitely going to put my glasses on while I just read this, peoples. So Sherry Leopold, the leader of the Stop Self-Bullying movement, is a mentor, author, and national speaker. She is helping create a world full of self-love, kindness, individuality, and a place where uniqueness will rule the world. Absolutely love that. And a little bit of an inside note there on authoring. She's a co-author of a best-selling book that we're both part of, which is so exciting, which is also the world's largest entrepreneur book. So the One Habit for entrepreneurial success, which is so exciting. So you'll also have to pick that up and look for Sherry's her habit and her unhabit, the chapter that she has written on there. We won't give too much away about that. So let's get into your message for the listeners today, Sherry. And like you
Sure.
said, it is a really pivotal topic and really quite a mic the drop type of or drop the mic, oh my gosh, I'm saying words back to front here, type of thought process, as well as um, words and in a dialogue. So let me ask you, really, what is self-bullying?
So self-bullying, if you dissected the words separately, self is one's nature or character. And obviously most people know what bullying is, but it's actually a blustery, quarrelsome person who habitually intimidates a weaker person. So when you put them together like that, it's actually you being the one who's habitually badgering yourself. And you think, who does that? But the reality is we all do that. It is no one is immune. We all do it at varying levels. And it's something that as you mentioned in the beginning, it's just becoming so acceptable, especially among women. We are in an effort, I think, for camaraderie, we have condoned this behavior. And that is really incredibly disturbing to me because as women, a lot, many of us are moms. We are we are just modeling that for the younger generation. And there comes the future.
Mm.
And we're just showing them that that's just what we do. And if you wouldn't mind, I would like to maybe tell you what it sounds like, because I think that's really helpful.
Yes, yes, give us a bit more of an insight there.
So, and as I said, when it comes to like the camaraderie thing, and women are really, really well known for this. So like this might be a conversation where you would say to a girlfriend, you're talking about going on vacation. You're like, well, I'm not going to the beach in a bikini, or somebody might say, are you wearing a bikini? Are you kidding me? People would run screaming, which would cause uh, laughter and like a joke with one another, but it's actually self-bullying because it's saying that people would run from you based on how you look. That's you self-bullying and someone else condoning it by laughing. And that's probably the number one thing that I see, that self-bullying is often couched in humor. And we call it self-deprecating humor, but self-deprecating humor doesn't make it right, and it
Mm,
doesn't make you feel powerful.
mm,
It's just an excuse.
mm,
But it's sad to me that we have done that, and that it's so socially acceptable to do it. And once you become aware of it, you'll see it in television shows. You'll see them. It's written right into scripts. So
mm,
we're constantly being inundated with circumstances at work, on the television, of incidents of this, so it's very commonplace.
mm. Oh, very much
Just
so.
just because it's commonplace doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. You've made me think of a couple of things there. With particularly with us here in Australia, we are well known for one, we have the tall poppy syndrome, and two, we are very much so. It's our mannerism, and it's very much part of who we are, as far as taking the PISS out of ourselves, and and that's larrikinism and humor. It's a very old way, and it's slowly starting to die off a little bit more. And I think the tall poppy syndrome is a little bit too. But on the same token, because of that, and certainly when we were speaking just prior to doing this interview about our particular generation, which we'll get into shortly, when I've done lots of different types and forms of training and teaching and coaching and mentoring. So I've also taught at universities and things like that. I love involving both a professional life and personal life, and developing the skill sets in that contribute with one, and support one another. And I remember there was, for quite a few months there, where I was teaching with international students, and I had a lot of the groups of the young ladies, and I would be constantly, because my theory is about to help information to stick, is to have fun with it and enjoy. If you're going to learn something, have fun with it, especially as an adult. Adult education is about, you have choice now as to what you're learning. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. Anyway, and I'd constantly be doing this whole picking on yourself, and it took them a while to warm up, and I'd say, it's just joking, just joking. And one of the young ladies said to me, but Sonia, why do you pick on yourself so much? I said, oh, that's just our way here. You'll get used to that. It's just how we have fun. And it was also very hard to then help them to understand where that fine line is, where you don't pick on others, or where it's a really negative pick on yourself, and where it is a flag for the mental health, and all those sorts of things. And they found that very difficult. So I'm thinking, it really is a difficult um, topic and place to navigate for a lot of people. And you said,
It
with
is,
being a
and
role
one
model.
of the things that just popped into my head was, it's partly because every single one of us comes through life with a different frame of reference, right? So what I hear when you say that is not the same thing as that young lady hears, as somebody else hears. And it's because we all come with a different set of circumstances. So one person's going, why is she doing that? And somebody else is like, ha ha ha, ha. Like, so, and it's like, and you wonder how you can have so many different responses from the same thing, but it's all because we all have a different frame of reference for what's happening.
Mm,
And so I guess I look at it as, this is a space for this movement to move in and say, let's back it up and actually focus on that self-love, self-acceptance, and really standing within my own power, in a way that is awesome for me, to me, for me, within me,
mm,
right?
mm,
Um, and that there's no confusion outside of me, because I know who I am and what my unique gifts are. and how I show up in the world, and that it's amazing whatever way I show up with no qualifiers, which is a huge thing for me that I teach. You're not a great teacher if you do this, if students fall in the bell curve or whatever. You're a great teacher by knowing the information, imparting it in a way that allows people to understand it, right? And that you give your heart and soul when you're teaching, right? And that you really, give your all to your students. So but it's about your frame of reference about what that means, right? It's not about whether you're, look professional enough or skinny enough or pretty enough or any of the things that so many people get hung up on, right? It's not about that. Or, people will say, oh, you're really pretty. And I'll be like, as women, we like to go, oh, well, if I didn't have this gray hair, or if I didn't have, this, or if I lost 20 pounds, there's like, no, it's about that self-love, exactly where you are, who you are, and how you show up, and that you're okay right there. Doesn't mean you can't make a plan to improve something or whatever if it's important to you. But you've got to start in self-love. Otherwise, I just say it like it is. You're like a crap ball rolling down a hill, and you just keep picking up more, right? And getting bigger and bigger until it's just a pile that just explodes all over. And a lot of times what happens when that explodes is you end up, and that's all over everybody else. Right?
I'm getting a whole lot of visuals going on here.
I know, right? And here's the thing, if you can just love yourself as you are, who you are, how you are today, and move forward from that, then you can look at it as a process of improvement instead of like, I'm not okay unless I do this.
I like that. That's very, very strong too, because again, still though, it's that frame of reference as to what do we see as being okay? What do we see as being good enough? What do we see as being, oh, well, when I get to or achieve such, then I'll be happy. Which is so sad, really. And we spoke a little bit about that prior to, again, before we got on. There's the whole perfectionism thing, and then there's the particular groups of people, and rather than looking at, say, different, racial upbringings and things like that, if we even look at the whole age thing with the baby boomers, the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, and still globally the thought processes around that. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive in there. So perhaps with the whole self-love, it is definitely something that even I have had a struggle with doing, accepting, and even just saying the word thank you and taking on board compliments and those sorts of things. So
I appreciate you saying that, because I think that is, that's actually something that I've noticed since I've been doing this the past 2.5 years, is that that's a very common thing for women especially. It's very hard for people just to accept when someone gives us praise or acknowledges something about us. We want to say, but it's the giant but, or if I just did this, then that would be true.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's a big but.
Yes, it is. And that's so sad. It's certainly something that I like to teach, is to get rid of the word but out of your vocabulary. So then really, when we're talking about self-bullying, we're also talking a lot about inner dialogue. Yes. So it's the inner dialogue of saying but, and it's also still the belief system around that. And also,
and just so you know, I had this pointed out to me, that belief system, the initials of that are BS, by the way.
I like that. I like that. Be aware of your BS, peoples.
That's
So what
right.
would be some of your tips around that then, to with people trying to perhaps move their belief system and move their frame of reference?
Yes. And, that's one of the things that I do in the mentoring, but it's also one of the things that I'm working with in some of the people that are in the business space is around, whose narrative are you buying into? Like, is it yours that you need to do something? Is it somebody else's expectation that they think you need to act a certain way? It's like figuring out whose story you're buying into, and then deciding what it is you really want, and stepping forward in that story, if you will, which is your authentic story, right?
Mm,
I want to give you an example that occurred to me when you were speaking. So I'm 55, and as you can see, I'm very gray. And here's the thing: I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I colored my hair all dark again, I would probably look younger to someone looking at me. But here's the thing about that. Here's the space I stand in that. I know that's true. And somebody actually that we know said, "Oh, I could never do that," as if it were a bad thing. Here's the thing, and here's that space, right? It's maybe a bad thing for them because they have something attached in theory to that. I look at it as this is the way that God made me. This is who I am at 55. Now, I have different things that I like to do. I really enjoy wearing makeup. I don't need to, but I feel more powerfully me with it.
mm,
Now, if I'm going to go to the grocery store or go to the park with my grandbaby, I'm not putting on makeup. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I mean. But when I want to look and feel my best, I generally put makeup on. I'll do my hair or whatever. And it's not so that somebody else, this is the caveat, it's not so somebody else sees me as better. It's I feel better about me.
mm,
This is why I don't color my hair. That's why they do,
mm, mm,
because that's how they feel powerful, right?
mm,
And it's a personal choice. Here's the thing we have to disassociate with is what it means to somebody else when they look at us.
mm,
Because I took that comment as you should probably do that. But here's the thing: I'm going to live in my truth. And my truth is that I am powerful no matter what color my hair is.
mm,
And
mm,
therefore, I feel no compulsion to color it.
mm. Beautiful, beautiful.
It's who I am.
But power and self-love do go hand in hand. For people that perhaps see it differently,
Mhm.
what would be your tips and advice around that?
Sure. So one of the things that I do in the program, and I do this even when I'm speaking on this topic, I actually talk about becoming an ace. And an ace is the highest card in the deck, right? And I love the ace for a number of reasons. One, it's powerful, okay, but two is it's actually flexible, because an ace, when you play certain games, can be the highest card or the lowest card. It has the flexibility to be both, which I think is really important, to be able to have that ability to change and look at it as, oh, I could be powerful being the lowest, or I could be powerful being the highest. So that's sort of the framework of where the ACE came from, but it actually is an acronym. And I believe when you're self-bullying, the very first thing that you need to come to is that awareness. And that's what that A is: being aware of it and acknowledging that you do it. Because when you're aware and you acknowledge that you do it, you get to start to move into the C. And the C is actually change. And that is where the change occurs. When you make the choice to do something different, say something different, think something different, feel something different, you begin to change. And when you change what your choice you're making, you then begin to evolve. And that's that evolution. That's the E. That's where you're evolving into the person who, when somebody says like something about you physically, it's like water off a duck's back because you know who you are.
Mm.
And in my case, you know, with my religious beliefs, I know whose I am. So I never have to use somebody else's assessment of me of being okay.
Mm. Mm. I love that. Oh, gosh, you've got lots of beautiful pearls of wisdoms, nuggets of gold, and dropping some mics here and there. I seriously love that. And I think that's a really nice short acronym for a lot of our listeners to remember and to put into action. A lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and one of the major differences between the mindset of an entrepreneur and the mindset of a business owner who has created themselves a job with a lot of the different theories that are out there is that the entrepreneurs tend to have that little bit more flexibility and innovation. So it is a skill set and certainly a mindset as far as exercising and working on that as much as possible to get better and better and better with it. But how much are we actually working on with our inner dialogue as to whether it's serving us or not? And when we're looking at these various different sorts of workshops that go on about setting yourself up for success and the different types of blocks there are, money blocks and those sorts of things, and coming down to, oh, well, this is how I was brought up, and going back to, you know, various types of things
That
like
goes to the story.
breakthroughs.
Whose story was
Whose
that?
story? What are we buying
Yeah.
into? Really? And we do have the option of changing that.
Yeah.
That we can keep tripping up, but we do need to keep getting up and stepping back into that. So for our listeners, as far as perhaps an exercise, could you perhaps give them a little bit of an exercise that will help with their inner dialogue?
I would love to do that. And actually, I would love to just teach you quick the technique that I call when I position it as I can help you snap out of it. And that's really something I would love to teach your listeners. And the reason is because it's something that you get to do for you, but it's also something you get to use with your network.
Yep.
So as we said, self-bullying sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, or I'm so stupid, or I don't know why I can't get this. I can't believe I missed that promotion, or no wonder I didn't get it. You know, they looked at me and thought XYZ negative thing, right? And so here's the thing. I created this acronym, and here's the thing with that. That's how I learn and how I remember things. And this is worthy of committing to memory. So what snap actually means, it's two different things. And so with your non-dominant hand, there's 4 snaps. So if you can't snap, I always say, I don't care if you want to do the chicken dance, just do that. It doesn't make any difference. But you can snap. So it's 4 snaps. So it's speaking negatively attracts pain or poop. If you're juvenile like me, you can say whichever.
Okay.
Speaking negatively attracts
negatively attracts poop.
Right. So this is the thing. And now it's in your non-dominant hand. And for me, it's my left hand. And the reason that is because that hand is really not as coordinated, and it's not in charge, and it's not as powerful, right?
Yes.
So speaking negatively attracts pain. That means it's bringing you something that you don't want, right?
Yes.
And nobody wants poop. Nobody wants pain. One hurts, one stinks, and nobody wants more of either one.
Yep.
How that goes. So now the other hand, the dominant hand, I always think of this like an on-off switch, right? You're off to the poop and the pain. Now we're going to turn on. Okay. So this is our on switch in the powerful hand. So this is start now activating power.
Start now activating power.
Right. So here's the thing. So there's a series of 8 snaps, right? If you want to do them all together, then it's speaking negatively attracts pain. Start now activating power. So it's the auditory, it's the visual, it's the physical, it's the kinesthetic learning, right? This is like this. So here's the thing. When you when you know this, and I have a graphic and I'm happy to share it with you on this so that people will remember. But here's the thing about this. If you and I are talking and we're somewhere and, we're walking and you say something like, oh my gosh, I love that outfit, but I could never wear that. I'm too, whatever. My butt would never fit in it or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Some might say. So here's the thing. You don't have to say a word to me. All you have to do is do that. Because I know I have just been given a cue that I did that reflexively.
Yes.
And that you just helped me. This is why we teach it to our networks. It's why parents should teach it to their children.
I was just thinking that I'm going to teach that to my kids.
Absolutely. So here, my husband will go, see, we're so good at it after 2.5 years. He'll be like, do I need to snap you? Like, or he'll just go snap sometimes, or he'll do that. But here's the thing. The people in my close network, if they say something and I do that, they stop talking, because this is the automatic sound. And it's the whole series of sounds, but it now represents something too. Stop, think about what I was saying. How can I reframe it so that it's in self-love? Right?
Yeah.
It is a thing, and this is why it's a movement, right? Because I can teach this to you, you can teach it to your children, and they're going to teach it to their children, and we're all going to be better into the future, right? It is a movement.
I love that. Absolutely love it. One, it's an easy thing too. Like you said, it brings in the whole VAC, which is so powerful, because we all learn, and things, the stickability of information is all different with each other. So bringing in the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic, the doing is so important. And 3, the role modeling. I wrote myself that down as a note just to make sure that we do come around to that, the whole role modeling. So we're role modeling for ourselves and the habits that we get into, then the nasty little habits, the things that is not serving us, and the role modeling to our clients and our customers, and even the people that we work with and we need support from, as in colleagues and suppliers, as well as our loved ones. What we're doing this,
which is actually one of the things, as I mentioned to you, I'm speaking at corporate engagements, and this is actually the topic that I'm taking in. People worry about being bullied by somebody else. But the reality is that person that's bullying is actually doing 10 times worse to themselves before they ever get to you. And that's a whole other part of what I teach.
It's a whole other psychology.
But that is actually what is going on.
Yes.
And, so because we can only work with us and we can't fix other people, we have to realize that we have tools to use for ourselves, right? And whether we take that in, whether we think it's true, whether we kick it around. Because I'll tell you, with self-bullying, one of the things that's really, really important to understand is it's not just about the snap and stopping yourself. It's about when somebody hands you a load of crap, pain, poop, whichever they're handing you. I call it hitting you with your bat, but that's another thing. So when they're doing that to you, when I go, oh my gosh, Sonia, you are not going to believe that what so-and-so did in cubicle, whatever, they just went this, and can you believe that? Hang up. Guess what? And you start calling people, or and you start retelling the story, when you have that, and here we do it because we're looking for that friend thing. We're looking for that, oh, that's terrible. Why did they do that to you? You're so awesome. This is what we're looking for, right? Because we're not able to do it ourselves. I'm awesome. Sorry you had the wrong idea. Sorry that you don't get how amazing I am. Like if we had that power, right?
Yes.
Like it wouldn't matter what somebody tries to hand you, because you know who you are.
Yes, that's right.
But that is self-bullying, because I would say it's only bullying when somebody comes up to you and does it to you. They drop the bat they just beat you with and they walk away. You pick the bat up and beat yourself when you tell your mom, your sister, your cousin, and your husband and everybody else. That's beating yourself.
Yes.
So
you are showing people how to treat yourself if you're saying it out loud too. But even if you're not saying it out loud, your movements and your actions and what you do is still showing people how to treat you.
Yes.
I so understand that and get that. And it's a lot about the habits, isn't it? Though we get into these habits, even if we
Yes.
know it. And then and then again, it's like, okay, don't beat yourself up that if you drop that ball.
It's one of the reasons why I hashtag all the time. If you ever follow me, I hashtag all the time, make good choices.
Yeah.
Because choices create change.
Mm.
And that's really elementally what this is. And I work with people to understand that if you catch yourself saying, well, I didn't really feel like I had any choice, or I don't have any choice, that's inaccurate. It's 100% inaccurate. You always have a choice. I always say, sometimes they all seem poopy, but one is less poopy than the rest, than the others. And here's the thing, when you make one choice, you're going to have 10 million more. Just like you say, you know, whatever happens in this moment, you're going to have all these moments afterwards, right? We have continual infinite number of choices. We never only have one choice. And when we sort of disabuse ourselves from that notion, it's like we are completely free. Because if something's, you know, not great, the next moment it might be 10 times better. The next day it might be 10 times better. What isn't better is if we keep it in our head, I don't have any choice, I don't have any choice, I don't have any choice. We do have a choice always about what we think about what happens. Now, we can't control other people and what they do, but we do get to choose how we think about it. And that's where the choice is. So when people say, I don't have a choice, you do have a choice. You have a choice about how you think about what is going on. And that's what I call, you called it inner voice and call it inner dialogue. I call it IV. And there's a couple different reasons why I call it IV, like an IV in your arm, because it goes in through your arm and it circulates through your body, right?
Yes.
It can like heal you or kill you depending on what's being put in there, right?
Yes.
That's what you're taking in. But also IV as a plant is, if it's left unchecked, it will take over. It will run up the side of a house. It will cover an entire tree. I mean, it just
And strangulate.
goes rampant, right? And that's what happens when you let inner voice, who I call affectionately IV, run your life. You are that inner voice. Everybody likes to think it's something outside of themselves. And I can tell you, this is what happens when you plug the power cord in and you understand that I am inner voice. That's me. I am one. That's where your real power is truly ignited.
Beautiful. I love that. I was thinking that too. That is power. To me, yeah, that is power. It's not necessarily what you're putting out there to others. It's your inner first. To be a great leader, you've got to be a great leader of yourself first and foremost. And
so true. So true.
That really helps strengthen a lot of people. That's so beautiful. Like attracts like. I'm always saying to people, if people are whinging about things happening, well, what are you doing about it to make it better? You know, if like attracts like, then there's something that you're putting out there that's not so great, that you're attracting it. So we need to start with ourselves first, and that is so awesome. And when just sort of rounding it back to, we talked a little bit about the generation gaps there, and some people might be saying, hold on, well, Sonia, you said something there and you didn't finish on it. And we spoke about this just prior before starting. We do tend to find there are certain common threads here and there. And I just feel that it's a little bit more with the X generation compared to the other generations. Do you want to explain that a little bit to our listeners?
Sure. And I think it's sort of interesting, you know, we're in an interesting time period because we were raised mostly by baby boomers. I'm right on the tail end of that. And that was sort of, you know, roles were a lot differently defined for women, right? Especially, and men had their role and everybody was supposed to do what they were supposed to do, you know, by society standards. And so as we've sort of progressed through time, some of those roles are changing. And so the people in the middle are like, I can be more, I can go to work, I can be a mom, I can do this. But yet we've got in the headspace of the inner voice running through, like, I need to be super mom, but I need to be a leader. I need to be excel here, you know? So, you know, we're sort of pulled in multiple directions. And I think, you know, the space of happy actually probably resides somewhere in, what do I need for me? And how am I my best version of myself? And what does that look like? Because when I know what I truly want to show up as in this life, then my power cord will be plugged in, and it won't be determined. The power level won't be determined why, but somebody else thinks I should do, forward
Mm,
or backward, right?
mm, mm,
Well, she's not a very good leader if she does this, or she's not a very good mom if she does this. You know, it's
mm,
what is the standard for you?
mm,
That is your indicator,
mm. Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
Very
owning
much
it.
so. I'm just, as you're talking, all the different conversations with different people are just popping up in my head, and how much have I stood up and I'll stop it again. There's Ivy. So, okay, so my
Yep.
car's called Betsy, and now my inner voice is going to be called Ivy, and I'm going to keep her a whole lot more accountable.
I love it. You know, that's funny. I was just thinking of a message that I just got that said, I put the bat down, which means that they were stopped beating themselves up. And that was all it said. You'd be proud of me. I put the bat down. And I'm like,
Oh, that's
yes.
nice. That's so nice. I love it. Yeah, you would be being so happy about that. And this is what I love doing, is when other people just get that bit of empowerment, because
Mhm.
like I said, I'm very passionate about our future and what control we
Yes.
have. And if our future is our very next minute and the few
Yes.
minutes coming up, then we have a whole lot more control over our future than what we realize. And with that, we are having control with our own future and with those who we're role modeling to. So our loved ones and other people around us. And yes, it can be exhausting, and it's okay to, when you put the bat down, maybe just have a little snooze. Um,
Or take a moment to just recenter. And I like for people to sort of have a personal mantra. So, like, one of the things I'm doing with my mentoring clients right now is we have a couple different goal sheets and things that we're working on. They have had to identify what their mantra is. So, like, meaning, and you know, people think I am statements are trendy, but you know what? Your actions follow your thoughts. So, whatever bad thing, you're going to probably draw in something that affirms for you that you're not good, right? So this mantra is, it was expressly given out like this. What are you going to say to yourself when you're feeling small, or when you're feeling less than, or you're feeling not powerful? And it's the, I'm going to plug it back in, but it's the trigger for that. Like, what is your trigger to untrigger the other thing? So, you know, I think it's important for people to do this. And my thing is, I I can do this no matter what anyone else thinks. And
mm,
that's my mantra, is I will do this no matter what.
mm.
Period.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I was thinking then too, it's a little bit like the butterfly effect. You
Mhm.
speak about the domino effect and the movement forward, but also the butterfly, and the fact that it has the ripple effect has a compounding effect too.
Absolutely.
And we didn't really explain that to the listeners. Your domino. Do you want to just mention that just briefly?
Yeah, and that was my word for 2018. And when I feel like I got the download from God that this is what I was supposed to do. I mean, that was the impetus to me. And it was based on a conversation with a friend, and finding out that a couple of celebrities had committed suicide, and all I could see was her face. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do something. I didn't know what I was going to do. Had the name of the book before I wrote anything. But I remember that was in June of 2018. And I always say, but that was already placed in there. It was in my destiny, if you will, because I had chosen the word domino January 1st of 2018. And that was when I saw that domino, I was like, I will make a forward motion, a movement that will bump into somebody else who will have a forward positive movement. That's what it was. And it was a picture of a whole row of dominoes. And it wasn't to knock somebody over, it was to create something positive. And that was just my goal, was to just create as much positive energy as possible. Well, that domino is still going all over the world,
all over
right?
the world. Here in Australia right now too.
There you go. And I'm so excited to be part of that, you know, and to be somebody that is in that alignment space of and really connecting with people, powerful people like yourself, Sonia, who are doing the same thing, and who do that just like with this podcast. You know, I mean, this is what we do. We help people who help people.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and this is what that domino is about. And when that came to me in June, I had absolutely no idea that the two would be related, or that would be how it would be happening. But I realized, you know, sort of in hindsight, that was sort of like a foreshadowing of what was going to be coming to me and being given to me.
Yes.
In the self-bullying movement, you know, and in an effort to stop that. And I look at it when we were talking about the generations, you know, I look at it as, I was first overwhelmed. Where do I start? Well, I started with myself in that acknowledgement process, right? And then I started thinking, okay, I'm going to start with whoever's around me. I have a preschool curriculum that is partially written because I want to get it to the schools. That's the way we get to people first.
Yep.
And then, you know, we start where I'm sort of more towards the other end, and we sort of move in to where we're going to eventually, which is what my personal vision is for my company, is to create a world where no one ever feels insignificant.
That's a big movement. And I thought my visions were big. that's
My
cool.
company name is Dream Big with Sherry. There is that.
Oh, people, if you like a challenge like me, let's get on board.
Yes, that's right. Like attracts like.
Oh my gosh, that is just so cool and so lovely. And I'm excited because a word that keeps resonating just recently, my husband and I, and he's been a little bit new on this whole self-development journey. Just in the last couple of days, the word flow keeps coming up. And this is all about flow. Well, there you go, people. I've had a thing happen right here, right now on this podcast from across the world.
That's right. Ooh, it's actually funny that you say that, because I just took a class. It was a 2-day class on that. And it was on energy, and it was on that whole thing of being in flow. So it's not an accident.
Freaking me out now.
I know. Like, I just got goosebumps, like, for real. But it's true. But I think that it's that alignment, and that, you know, yeah, I'm not surprised at all, because I am open to stepping into whatever my destiny is, which obviously includes you.
Yeah. Oh, how exciting. You get goosebumps, I get a hot flash. I'm at that time too of life. Well, look, I've really, really enjoyed talking to you. We didn't really get to talk a little bit about your story, but I think it's really quite self-evident of where your story has been at. So then let me ask you a question that I typically start to close off with. Then what's on the horizon? So what's on the remainder of 2020 for you?
Well, I'm doing actually some corporate speaking. As I said, it's been really, I think I tried to push away from it a little bit, but I realized that it's really part of my heart center. Having been in network marketing for over 20 years, I've been surrounded with women who have had a lot of self-doubt, and it's been a lot of women. I've worked with men, and I do work with men, but I think my heart is actually really with business women. And I really just want women to go through their business feeling powerful
Mm,
instead of feeling like, well, I'm not sure I can do that. There's a lot of that in the space of women in business. And I think it has to go with, along with what we were saying, with sort of having that mentality in the back of your head of being raised by the, this is your roles and now you want this, and how are you going to marry the two, and having that self-doubt, right?
yes.
Of how that's going to work and what's it going to look like and what if I fail, and
Mm,
all those things that sort of pile up. And so I'm very passionate about that. I'm loving the opportunities that are coming to me to speak to actually groups of business women, because that is, I just really have realized, and it's been fairly recently, that that's really a passion of mine,
mm,
because that makes me feel amazing, and that is like a giant domino row, like,
yes.
because they're going to go out and make big things in the world, and I that just fills me up.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? It's
It
exciting
is.
that the whole contribution to possibilities and
Yes.
opportunities for people, and that you can be a part of that, which is lovely. And without ego, with that self-love
Yeah,
and the love to give, that's what it's all about, which is beautiful. Thank
absolutely.
you so much. So is there something you would like to offer the listeners?
I do have an ebook, and you can get that for free at sherryleopold.com. And it's actually called How to Beat Self-Doubt. The choice is yours. And as we kind of talked about in the interview, I do really believe that it is a choice. Self-doubt is a choice. And if you continue to make those choices, you're doing it because it's serving you in some way. So just have a look at that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. That's lovely. Lovely tools there for people to keep coming back and to refresh. And
And
certainly
they
they
can
can,
also, I just want to point out, they can also join my Wow Warriors tribe on Facebook. It's just the word wow, which actually, just so you know, I didn't say this, but the first 10 people that I shared the name of the book with hadn't written anything in it, all said wow. And I was like, and because it was like, whoa, you said whoa, I think, but they said wow. And so I knew that I wanted that to be part of my tribe, whatever it is. But I knew I wanted the word warrior in there. So I was trying to figure it out. And a friend of mine, one of my mentors said, oh my gosh, war on words warrior. I'm like, yes,
yeah,
this is what we are. We are war on words warriors. It's a constant battle. We are in the fight together. It is a supportive space. You can be men, women, anybody who wants to join. You don't have to have a business. It's literally nothing but a positive space to grow and encourage yourself and other people.
love it. Love it. Thank you very much. And as the listeners do know, I'll pop that URL or plural URLs in on the web page there where this podcast will be housed as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure lots of the listeners have learnt lots, and will definitely be rewinding and listening this again. These are fabulous pearls of wisdom that will be able to help for a long time into the future, and with various different people and generations. So thank you very much for helping and encouraging that movement. And is there any last final words you want to say?
I just want to say to the listeners that this is what I finish my book with. It is your time and place to stand up and be the powerful you that you were meant to be. No qualifiers, exactly how you are, exactly how you look, and exactly how you think. You are 100% okay, and that you are an unrepeatable miracle just as you are.
Love that. Love that. Again, drop the mic. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Sonia. I appreciate it so much.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.